Okay, this is what I will call my journal part 2. Now, initially, I had a talk with my friend James about reincarnation, or he likes to call it incarnation, dealing with the Urantia book, which I like the Urantia book too. There's only a few things I don't agree with that are major things for me is the reincarnation, which he did explain. He said if when we go to the Morantia world, if we did not want to continue on, we can agree or depart from our divine spark or our thought adjuster, and that returns to source, which can at any time be recycled back into a human vehicle. So in other words, reincarnation of the thought adjuster. But as you see Edgar Cayce on reincarnation, which I told you I got all these books, I asked him, why are some people born sick, or some are well off, or some are just seem to be so lucky? And it just seems like we all come in already with a like in a track. If you're the fastest, you run on the inner lane, if however it goes, and then the second lane, and then the third lane. That's how it's measured. It doesn't seem like we all start from the same spot. But anyway, so he said shit happens. That was his answer. So here I am just on chapter 4. So I said, well, I didn't know how to highlight, so I'm just going to read some of it. So chapter 4 is called Physical and Emotional Karma. Now, the wages of virtue, and then the wages of sin. And now I'll begin just so you can kind of get a picture. When Paul Durbin was 34 years of age with a wife and a child to support, he was stricken with multiple sclerosis, or creeping paralysis, and his right leg and arm began to wither. Though Paul's family was all but destitute, good friends rallied to his aid. They paid for, hold on, I gotta take my earphones out. They paid for his hospitalization, obtained his physical reading, and even administered the massages which the reading advised. His condition soon began to improve. But significantly, the reading also made reference to a past incarnation in which he had indulged his negative passions to excess. The entity is at war with itself. The entity being, remember, we're broken into 2 entities. But the entity is at war with itself. All hate, all malice, all that will make men afraid must be eliminated from the mind. For, as given of old, each soul shall give an account of every idle word spoken. It shall pay every whit. Yet the entity knows, or should know, that there is an advocate with the Father. For as given, though ye wander far, if ye call, I will answer speedily. Then right about face, know that the Lord liveth and would do thee good, if ye but trust wholly in him. In short, a soul had but to acknowledge by its penitence that it had gone astray, and help would be forthcoming in exact proportion to his sincerity. The warning fell on deaf ears. Durbin, saturated with bitterness and self-pity, dismissed such an idea as rubbish and demanded to know why Cayce had failed to cure him miraculously and instantaneously. He even vented his frustration on the people trying to help him, playing them off against each other until they regretted their involvement. Nevertheless, his condition improved for a while. When the improvement failed to stabilize, he complained even more bitterly than before. His next reading was phrased in blunder language. This is a karmic condition, and there must be measures taken for the body to change the attitudes towards conditions, things, and its fellow man. First, there should be a change of heart, a change of mind, of purpose, a change of intent. If this is done, then keep up the massages and the use of the appliances suggested. But all the mechanical appliances that ye muster will not aid complete recovery unless thy soul has been baptized with the Holy Spirit. In him, then, is thy hope. Will ye reject it? The body is indeed the temple of the living God, but what does it appear to be in the present? Broken in purpose, broken in ability to reproduce itself? What is lacking? That which is life itself, the influence of force ye call God, will ye accept? Will ye reject? It is up to thee. As long as there are hate, malice, injustice, those things which are at variance to patience, long-suffering, brotherly love, there cannot be a healing of this body. What would the body be healed for? That it might gratify its own physical desires and appetites? That it might add to its own selfishness? Then, if so, it had better remain as it is. We are through, unless ye make amends. This reading was deliberately selected for its uncharacteristic austerity. The correspondence in the ARE files is mute testimony to the reluctance of this patient, determined not to stir a finger in his own behalf, demanding the restoration of his health as his due. Why did Paul Durbin suffer? Why do any of us suffer if it comes to that? All illness is sin, said Cayce, and he does not necessarily mean sin committed consciously in the present life, but sin expressing itself as illness because it has not yet been expiated by the soul. Karma, the abscess on which the gains and losses of the soul are scored from life to life, is often wrongly and unjustly confused with retribution. It is too metaclusis and dispassionate for that. Its ultimate purpose too benign. But while it is acting as a painful cure for an even more painful relapse, it can be bitter gall indeed. Apparently, a certain type of mortal suffering can be as salutary, astringent to the torpors of the subconscious mind. When all subtler warnings have failed to persuade the ego to exert itself in its own best interests, whom the Lord loveth, has chastiseth, has more kindness than irony in it when viewed in this light. The readings divide karma into two rough categories, emotional karma and physical karma. Each of these has of necessity its positive and negative aspects, its good and bad. Under the negative emotional heading, we find such symptoms as incompatibility, marriage, alcoholism, impotence, neurosis, neuroses, such as manic depression and paranoia, mental perversions, and even possession in its medieval sense. On the physical side, it manifests itself in such defects as deafness, blindness, speech impediments, and the killer diseases such as leukemia and multiple sclerosis. Though his entire life as a seer, Edgar Cayce devoted the bulk of his efforts to the successful diagnosis of bodily ailments. On many occasions, however, he traced them not to physical causes, but to an inevitable moment of truth at that subconscious level, when self must answer to self. The murderer who shed innocent blood is one life will balance the scale in another by symbolically shedding his own. More than one case of leukemia was directly attributed to this reckoning. But the remedy need not always be so drastic as it was in the case of Paul Durbin. The law of grace is a perpetually available alternative to the soul. The working off of accumulated debts by unselfish dedications to the welfare of others, even less fortunate than itself. In Edgar's own words, what you sow, you reap, unless you have passed from the carnal or karmic law to the law of grace. Most souls seem to hover between the two extremes. The next case of physical karma deals with a woman who successfully overcame the challenge which faced her. So anyway, then it just goes on to more stories. But I guess the whole point here is I knew, or I just felt that it has to be more to karma, or why we are born into some of the families or situations we're born into, or why some people are born and have a mom, dad, and great life, but turn out to be addicted to heroin and drugs, and then the one that was left on their own at 12 and 13 never did drugs and has kids and they're all great. And I mean, it's just weird. But I guess karma, I knew, didn't just occur as shit happens, or we're born into, I get that we're born into circumstances. And that can make or break a lot of weak-minded people. And then there's a lot of people that doesn't even touch, or it might affect a little bit to know what we don't want to do anymore, be around. But other than that, nothing major. So when you read chapter 4, physical and emotional karma, and I apologize, I need glasses. Like seriously. And this book is from 1969. And just the dust off of it gets caught in my throat. It's like an old book, mothy smell. But I just can't even believe I'm reading it. So anyway, this is it right here on the screen. And I got mine off of eBay or Amazon. I can't remember. I only paid a penny for it, but I had to pay $3.99 for shipping. So, but that's what I'm reading. And I just feel like I'm just going to dive in. Initially, I was sending all my Edgar Cayce books back. But I know this isn't coincidence. This is the first one that showed up at my door. I haven't received another one since. I'm not even supposed to receive any of them until the 8th. I got this one in 24 hours from ordering it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that part because that was one of our talks. I just asked him flat out, how are some of us starving to death or sickness, plagues? But that makes so much sense. And I think that, I don't know if he thinks that I didn't understand that if I said reincarnation, that I thought I was going to come back as me again, another life. No, I can come back as a 11-year-old Asian boy. I can go back an 80-year-old. I think it kind of works like this. Say I throw rocks at your greenhouse. When I come back that next life, that's what I did the majority of my life, or that's what stood out. I'll come back living in the actual greenhouse, getting the rocks thrown at it, and I have to feel what it feels like on that end, or something kind of like that. I don't know. You're walking through this with me, whoever's watching. So that's chapter 4. Next time I just went to American's Best and ordered some glasses yesterday. And he's trying to get me to get bifocals, but that's another story. So in 7 to 10 days, my glasses will be here, and then we'll carry on. But there's no way I'm going to stop this. I'm going to continue on. So that's chapter 4. Chat later.